Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Personal Trainers Who Care podcast. My name is Riley, and I am the Director of Social Media and Marketing at Freeform Fitness, and we have another great episode for you today. So the Personal Trainers Who Care podcast is our opportunity to share the stories of our amazing personal trainers, because at the heart of every great fitness business are the individuals who truly care about getting their clients results and helping them realize their full health potential. This podcast is a production of Freeform Fitness, a personal training studio with 6 locations across Ottawa. We service our clients both online and in studio when we are not in lockdowns. And if you'd like to know more about Freeform Fitness, you can head to freeformfitness.ca. All right, without further ado, let's get into this second episode with Glebe manager Lori. Okay, so for our second episode, we have Lori, who is a personal trainer and the manager of our Glebe location. It's in Lori's view that defining and embracing a healthy lifestyle is an ongoing journey. As a fitness professional, she wants to guide individuals to improve their overall health and well-being and to teach others how to balance this with their daily lives. Lori enjoys training people of any age, but she's also an older adult fitness specialist. And interesting fact, Lori used to be a prison guard at an all-women's prison. So welcome, Lori. How are you?
Good morning. Welcome.
So, I feel like we need to address the prison guard thing. How did that happen? What, that's wild.
Well, that was early on when I was in my 20s. I was a correction officer. That's the term they like.
Right.
The politically correct term. Correctional officer. I worked in the federal system, which is a bit different than the provincial system. So you have to, people are doing 2 or more years in their sentence. How did that happen? I kind of fell into it, and I'm not sure if that's the nice answer, but it kind of just happened. It wasn't something I was planning on doing. I got my degree, my honors degree in recreology, Bachelor of Social Science. I was looking for work. I did find some temporary work in recreation, but never full time. Just didn't have a lot of experience. So the things I wanted to do with it, it just wasn't evolving quick enough. I knew that there was opportunities. I knew people in the system of corrections. So it just kind of, looking for a full-time job. And I thought it would be an interesting challenge. And it was. So it just happened. They trained me, I got accepted. They trained me for 3 months. And then so I just started it and did it for 12, 13 years.
Oh my gosh. 12, 13 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And in the training, is it similar to sort of like policing? Like, are you having to pass fitness tests every year as well?
I think they do that now. Originally, yes. There was physical testing. There was in-class communication, obviously, exercises, and we did have self-defense. I won't get specific, but there was, a weapons training. So we did have all that, and we were expected to be physically fit. But definitely I think fit enough at that point because I was in my mid-20s and I'd already spent a summer in the militia, and that's when it really started for me in terms of getting fit. So, so at that point, but definitely, it was a new challenge and something I took on for a while, but I always kind of wanted to come back to the roots of recreation. I ended up in personal training, which is kind of, part of it, I guess. But I kind of wanted just to move back into instructing or just having a little more fun, you can have,
I was just going to say, working with people in a slightly different setting, I think after
a little less restrictive. And I worked in more than one setting in that field. I started in all women's, but I did end up in men's as well. And I did different things. Because of my degree, I was able to like try different things. But yeah, I mean, definitely I needed to evolve it at some point, and then I ended up back. Yeah, I ended up in this field, personal training. That's what, yeah, basically.
Nice.
I moved, I came to Ottawa, and that's when it happened.
Wow.
Slowly, yeah.
So when you were studying recreation initially,
Yeah.
was there sort of like, I'm going to study recreation and then I'm going to do this job? Or were you just like, I enjoy recreation and sociology, and then I'm going to see what happens? Like, was there sort of was there a plan?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was working in recreation summer camps, and I worked for the city of Ottawa part-time for adapted recreation. So I was actually interested in therapeutic recreation, and it still interests me. It's just, it's never anything that really evolved into a full-time career. It was something harder to get into, and I took some courses in it, but I was thinking of doing my master's in it, and then that didn't happen. So yeah, it just, therapeutic recreation, probably working with people recovering and adapting an activity or a piece of equipment to what they need, right? So if it's a recreational activity or a sports activity. So, or working like in a senior's home, that's another form of therapeutic rec. But I did work for the city of in the city here part-time. I worked for adapted recreation for a while, and I worked with people, who needed, assistance, had wheelchairs, or I worked with people who had head injuries, which I really liked. So I did that for a short period of time. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it just never evolved into full-time. It's just, it was just a field. I was inexperienced, young, didn't know how to sell myself probably as well as I would now. So it just didn't evolve, but that was definitely the goal. Anyway.
That's really cool. I mean, I've heard of, therapy, and obviously all different types of forms. I have a friend who's in theater, and so she talks about like theater therapy, but recreational therapy, I've never heard of it sort of phrased that way or described that way, but it sounds really cool. And although you don't necessarily have a job in that specific field, I can see how that training could be so applicable to what you do as a personal trainer. Like we get clients with who are coming back from head injuries or playing sports or are requiring, more education on how to modify daily activities in their lives in order to suit, a new circumstance that they've fallen into or whatever. So, have you had an opportunity, like have you had concussion clients or clients like that where you've been able to sort of practice some of that recreational therapy stuff?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think I had a couple of clients who have recovered from head injuries or concussions, maybe, and different issues. So just, I guess nothing specific, but there's definitely challenges with different clients. Some where you really have to adapt. So I think it's just about adapting, right? Adapting the workout, the exercise for that person's functional ability. So it's, whether it's adapting the piece of equipment or just how you do it, how you instruct it, your expectations for the person. So I guess generally speaking, yeah. And there's, been some specific cases where I've had to adapt more than others.
I find that really fascinating. I mean, I've been with Freeform since, late 2017, and I've come across, we've interacted a number of times, virtually as well as very few times in person, and you just have this sort of mystery about you, and so this is just a really interesting conversation to sort of learn the backstory about Lori and learn sort of where the passions lie, and I think that this recreational therapy thing is really it's sort of like a noble cause, which I think is a great thing to bring to the personal training field. On that topic of personal training, how did you end up at Freeform? Was it sort of like this was the first personal training gig, or how did that happen?
No, it wasn't the first gig. I came to Ottawa, and I was taking courses, and I took some courses in personal training, nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So actually nutrition, I was actually thinking that was going to be my first focus, and then it just didn't go that way. But so I was taking some courses, and then I decided to apply for a job. I'll just call it a big box gym. So we won't name names. But it was definitely a big box gym. It was, I guess I can say it was an all women's gym. It was my first start. So I did, and I liked it. Definitely they trained you up, and it was a good experience. So I started in that kind of environment. And then I worked for a couple of different clubs after that, a smaller one, kind of like this, and then another big organization, and I did some part-time work there, did some volunteer work as well, orientation, and some group training. So I did a bit of group training at one organization because they required it. So I said, okay, let's do it. And you know what? I didn't think that would work for me, but it actually worked better than I thought. I was able to use a mic, so I think that helps because my voice is kind of soft sometimes. But I worked with like seniors, so I did some group strength training classes with seniors, older adults, and actually, it worked out. It was more fun than I would have imagined because I'm kind of a quiet person sometimes. So I thought, I didn't see it, but I think it was a better fit than I thought it was. Once I did it, and I did it for about a year. And then I ended up, I always kind of wanted to work in a facility like Freeform, where it was basically, there was just trainers on the floor. So it was very organized, and you weren't necessarily sharing the floor, because sometimes sharing the floor can be hard to organize yourself and kind of, so it's more professional, I think, when you're just in a personal training facility. So when I read up on Freeform, that really appealed to me. And then one kind of started up in the area that I was working in. And so I just dropped in one day and talked to Lindsay.
Oh my
and
gosh.
She was here, and she had really good energy. And so she was open to taking my application, and it kind of just went from there. So so it did start with Freeform, but
I'm starting to notice a trend where you have a passion for health and fitness. It's like, I started in this, but then that didn't work out, but it actually then led me to this, which was really cool. I didn't think I would like it, but it worked out. And then you have all of these experiences in your life where it's like, you know what, plan A didn't work out, but plan B had this great outcome. And I think that, I'd love to hear more about your teaching the older adults in the fitness classes. So how would you organize that class? How would you sort of go into planning a class for older adults?
That's a good question. I mean, basically you arrive early and you want to set up. And so in my head, of course, I just design a program beforehand. In my head, I write it down maybe, and then it's there. I could go to class early. I try it out if I want to just go through some of the moves, the exercises on my own, check the music. So just set up that way, and then just kind of wait for clients to come in. I found with those classes, the people who were there were well organized, so they, there was an area where they'd pick up their weights, and they were kind of well organized themselves, and then just kind of get it started. But I mean, I would go through it a little bit in my head, and physically, but also too, it was just the energy of the class kind of just drives the workout a bit. So I was able to also be spontaneous if I needed to be, and change it up a bit, which is actually kind of fun. So you're just tweaking something. I mean, when you have like a group of people, they have different levels. So like one-on-one training, you can really like work with one person. When you're in a group, obviously, you have to really describe things a little more, and kind of just, I would go throughout the class and try to help people individually a little bit, but you had to like show different levels of things, different options in the class. So kind of be spontaneous, got to be open to adapting, so really have to be open to that. And, you know, if the clients like it, they're going to tell you at the end. And when they did, it makes you feel good, right? So you're like, okay, I was on the right track. Or they tell you if they want you to help them with something specific. So then that's something I could use, an idea I could use for the next class. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically how I set up. I mean, plan, get there early, rehearse it if you need to. But it wasn't like a dance class, so it was a little less rehearsal. But I mean, I had also been a trainer at that point for a while, so that helped, obviously. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know, you planning ahead. I think that there is an element of sort of organization that older adults really appreciate, and they notice when trainers or just people in any service setting outside of the gym even, where they notice if somebody has not planned and has not organized. So, you know, I think it makes perfect sense that that's what made it fun and a successful thing for you as well.
Yeah, and like with older adults too, they do like the social aspect of working out. So that's big for them. So, I mean, they'll do individual workouts, obviously, but they do like that social aspect. And there were people there that came and they did 2 or 3 classes in the morning. Like, they wouldn't just do my class. They would continue and do other classes, and they'd come every single day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like, but you know what? It kept it moving. So, you know, if it worked, it just, yeah.
Oh,
Pretty interesting.
that's awesome. So now, you know, now you're at Freeform, sort of on Lori's timeline here. So now you are at Freeform. You're coming with so much experience. How long, you know, did it take for them to realize that you had some serious manager material?
Well, I think it was something that I knew was an opportunity when I started. And I know I was older, and I think my experience previous maybe gave me maybe a leg up. I don't know, like just experience in life, I like to think. Yeah, so I mean, and I was open to it. A little hesitant, I have to be honest. I had managed a little bit before, and yeah, I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant, but I wanted that opportunity because I had worked at other locations, other facilities, and I kind of wanted that opportunity to have, say, a little bit more, say, input, maybe a little bit more control over the front desk, how it runs, how it works, the clients coming in, you know. Yeah. So definitely, yeah, I was open to it. So, and it kind of happened pretty quick. But an opportunity opened up, and that was it. So I just went with it. I went with it. I thought that was a good idea just to go with it.
Yeah.
So I did.
Follow those, you know, signs from the universe or whatever you want to call it, you know, that sometimes opportunity presents itself and you do need to seize it. But, you know, I think about the, you know, you said that you were in the militia in the summer.
And
yeah, I did that would be fairly organized and regimented. Do you feel like you bring some of that training into your management style?
That's so funny. You know, a little bit. Like I like structure to a certain point. I mean, it works for me. I mean, I'm actually kind of creative thinking sometimes. Like I have lots of things I think about, but structure brings it back. I need that. So I am kind of structured in how I do things. So I guess, yeah, I mean, my training in, you know, corrections and I guess in the militia definitely kind of hones in that kind of structure, that discipline. I think it really helped with discipline. I mean, I really, my experience in militia was life-changing. It's what got me into fitness, to be honest, because I was like 19, 20 when I did it for a summer. So I was in the Governor General Foot Guards, so I did the militia reserve. It was part of the reserve.
Wow.
So I did the foot guards on the hill.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago. But there wasn't a lot of girls then, but there was some. But it was tough. Like it was the toughest thing because I wasn't really that fit at that point, to be honest. But it got me fit and it got me tough in my head. So I was able to push through things, and I just learned discipline. And so that's, I think it was very life changing. And I like what happened to my body. It was stronger. It looked good, to be honest. And yeah, so after that, I always stuck to some form of, fitness, some kind of workout. I did more group working out, like group training, running initially. Strength training came later. But yeah, that was definitely life changing in terms of where I am now, I think, in terms of my fitness. Yeah.
Cool.
So
That's
does it bring
awesome.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, you'll find a lot of the times with personal trainers, obviously, that there's usually a moment. There's a summer, or there's a conversation, or a sport, or they meet a coach or something that just flips the switch, and that's really what sets them on this path to become so passionate about fitness, and noticing within themselves how fitness and exercise changed who they are, or sort of, I don't want to say change, but maybe just sort of enhanced or brought something out of them that they may not have realized before. So I think that's really cool that's what the militia was for you.
Yeah, like, it got me fit. So I didn't go into personal training, obviously, right away. I just got fit, and I just loved it. And when I was in my other career, I used that on my free time to stay in shape, and it was just a good mental kind of release as well. So yeah.
That's a good point. There's the mental health aspect of it as well, and given the previous career that you had, I imagine there needed to be some release after.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to let go, and just something else I could focus on. And it's just, anything like, where you're pushing yourself, like that one summer in the militia, just mentally, it made me strong and more disciplined, and being able to like push through. So I guess that's where it influences your training a bit. I know that people are capable of pushing through if they want to. If you want to, you can. So it's just, I don't know.
No, that's exactly it. That it's a very sort of simple message that if you want to, you can. And it's so true, especially as personal trainers, but sometimes it's that step of getting people to the point where they genuinely want to, within themselves, they genuinely want to. I know when I personally work out, there is a mindset, and there is a sort of, they call them like intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, as I'm sure you know, but there is that intrinsic motivator in me where it's like, this is me time. This is a time where I'm celebrating what my body can do, and where I can take it with exercise and all of those things. So yeah, it's
Absolutely.
it's really cool. That's really
cool. You gotta have that me time. You got, even if it's small, you gotta have that me time. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it takes. Yeah. Right.
Just a little bit of time. Just a little bit of time. So, you were talking about the social aspect for our older adult clients. And obviously, we're living in a pandemic, and it's been especially difficult for that demographic. How has this changed your personal training style, or your life as a personal trainer through COVID? And what have you noticed with your older adult clients through the pandemic as it relates to their training?
Definitely, there are those who have chosen to stay home because they just feel safer staying home. So yeah, when I was originally off, when we were off because we were closed, and it was just training, I think it helped me refocus on my training and really focusing with my clients. And yeah, a lot of them, they're motivated to still do a workout, but at home. So that's good. And there are those that are still really focused on their training, but they're just doing it at home. And so you have to adapt, obviously. So you have to kind of adapt. So I just found like you really have to just I just immerse myself in it, and just adapt and do the best you can with what you got. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's different, but it can be good. It's just, you know, you have the right tools and you have to approach it the right way. And it can be done, you know, and there are those who I think will stay doing that for now until they're comfortable coming back in. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I know that definitely people. Yeah.
I was just gonna say you did. You absolutely did. And you know, are you finding that for the clients who have stayed on and are still training online, you know, has the progression slowed, or you know, have they been able to maintain their fitness online with the online training?
I think you can maintain fitness, but I think the training changes. So there may be more body weight training, more conditioning, based on the fact that they don't have a lot of equipment. So I think it does change it, but it's still a workout. So it depends on what a person's goals are. Some of the clients I have who are online, I think that mainly just having a workout where even if there's a lot of more body weight involved, it's still going to benefit them. And then if they come back in later, then we can, you know, change the program to, you know, the facility more. With more equipment, but I mean, so it changes it, but I mean, you're still going to benefit. It's a different kind of workout. So it can still be beneficial. It's just a different kind of workout, right? It's a different kind of fitness. It's just, so yeah, I mean, and is the progression different? Can be. Depends on who you have. Depends on client, what equipment they have, what level they're at before you started. So sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. It depends on the client, the equipment, everything. But definitely, the workout does change. Unless they have a lot of equipment at home, the workout will be different.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what's sort of the standard equipment that people will have at home, if any?
Little dumbbells, sometimes bigger, but generally just smaller dumbbells, bands. I've encouraged clients to purchase some equipment, get bands, get some equipment. So, they're a little bit hesitant to get too much. I mean, sometimes, but we just slowly encourage some of them to, bands, dumbbells, mat, if they don't have it, foam roller, a ball, different things like that can just add some more options to a workout, make it a little more dynamic. So yeah, definitely. So that's what I encourage people to do. And that's generally, they end up getting that if they don't have anything. And then we just do work with the resistance bands, with dumbbells and body weight and mobility. So you can work on other things too. That's the thing. Like, if you don't have so much of equipment, then your focus can be on different things, right? It could be focused on mobility, core strength, getting their muscles activated, so you can just refocus the workout.
Yeah, it almost like opens up opportunities to show clients, what else a personal training session can include. Like, obviously when you're in the gym, you're using different pieces of equipment and you're doing the stretching and the foam rolling, but when you put them in their home with now limited equipment, it's like, okay, now what can we do? How else can we continue to improve your health that isn't just what we were doing in the studio, so I think that's pretty cool.
It is. And really, like, I mean, how do I say this? I mean, obviously the workouts you do in the gym are important, but it's only part of the picture, at least to me. The rest of the picture is, what are you doing outside of the gym, right? How are you eating? And what other activities are you doing to keep moving, to keep active? So really, it's just a part of it anyways.
Well, that was the whole thing that was on your bio on the website, is talking about how it's not just about the exercise and what you're doing in the gym, but it's how do you balance that with a life?
Exactly.
Outside of those 30 minutes that you spend with us at the gym, how do you then balance that? And so it's not such like a big pendulum swing from this super active 30 minutes to then nothing. You want to have balance.
Exactly. Whether it's doing yoga or changing how you eat, cleaning up your eating habits, or just being active and moving every day.
Yeah.
And in other ways, I mean, because it really, that's real health. So that's real fitness, like overall, like in the big picture. Unless you're at the gym every day, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like I guess, but most people are. Now I'm not even at the gym every day. On the weekend, I'm not. So yeah, I'm just, yeah. Fitness is a big picture, right? So to me,
Yeah.
it's a big.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just going to ask you, what does fitness look like for you when you aren't at work? What does sort of like your healthy lifestyle include?
Well, I'm not perfect, and I have my highs and lows like everybody, and so I have to keep evolving it, like in terms of motivating myself, and how I do that. So for me, it's just about, like, I might do some home workouts, but it's also about just moving, whether it's walking, just to clear my head. I also do some dancing, so that's definitely physical fitness, but different. And then it adds some creative aspect to your workout. That's my other kind of thing I do, my other passion. So generally things like that, and swimming, maybe in the summer. I mean, so I do different things. Depends. And throughout my life, I've done different things. I've skied, some. Yeah, I just try different things, and but it changes. So for me, it's just everything evolves, because you can't get stuck. If you get stuck, you got to get unstuck, right? So if you want to continue with being healthy, you just have to find a way to do it. Change it up.
Yeah, that's a really good point about
Yeah.
allowing yourself to allow your fitness to evolve with you. Sort of as life changes, you need to let what you're doing to keep yourself healthy adapt to those changes as well. And swimming and dancing, I mean, that speaks to me. I love both of those forms of sort of real life fitness, if you want to call it that, real life exercise. There's something very freeing about floating in water and dancing.
Totally. Like, I love the water. I don't spend enough time by the water anymore, but yeah, I mean, I grew up kind of by the water, so yeah, absolutely, totally agree.
That's awesome. So I just have a few more questions for you.
All right. Okay.
So I'd love to know your input on how the fitness industry has changed in the last 5 or 10 years. Like, if you were to look back, how would you say things have evolved within the industry?
So I think it's become more corrective from when I first started, or maybe I've just become more corrective. I don't know, but in terms of, like, you can call it therapeutic, but maybe just more corrective, where it's not just about, okay, let's just lift some dumbbells, and work hard, make you sweat. It's more about correcting the posture, any imbalances you may have in your body, and making it work, the exercise work for you and your body, right? So that might be something different for everybody. So yeah, I think it's become more corrective over time.
That's a great answer. And really speaks to the expertise of a personal trainer, because like you said, like, it isn't just about lifting weights, making you sweat, as much as that is sort of a fun aspect of it. The corrective side of it, to see imbalances in a person's body and then saying, I'm going to give you exercises, but it's to correct an imbalance or to correct an injury. What is sort of the most common thing that you're seeing in terms of imbalances in people's bodies right now?
Well, back pain, is an issue for a lot of people. They sit a lot, and obviously tightness in your upper body, your pecs. So like, I'd say back pain, knee pain, very common, and just tightness in the lack of mobility in your shoulders and your chest area. And that's, I think, speaks a lot to the sitting position we do on everything, almost everything we do, right? We drive, we sit at our desk. We're always like in a position where we're forward, upper body forward, I guess. So yeah, I mean, those, yeah. And a lack of ability to activate certain muscles like your abdominals, your glutes. People just, I guess, because you're sitting on your buttocks when you're sitting, you're not activating it.
Right.
So it's just like activation of your glutes, and so I think that's more than one thing, but definitely those are the common things. Shoulder injuries as well, but that again comes to postural issues. You know, it's kind of correlated to that. So yeah, generally, yeah. Does that help?
No, it's a good answer because it sort of speaks to the, I mean, I know I asked for like what's the number one thing, but we as personal trainers see the body as a system. We're not sort of seeing it as the individual parts. So when you say, oh, well, it's back, but it's also shoulders, well, it's like, yeah, they're all connected, right? So if you're having tight shoulders rounding forward, you're gonna have, you know, T-spine issues, and then low back, and you get into the hip. So it really is, you know, when I say what's one thing,
yeah, I mean,
there's gonna be others.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, actually, you kind of said it. It's an imbalance. So if it's one thing, it's like the imbalance in the body that we often have that creates issues, right? So I guess imbalance would be a big thing because everything's connected. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the you know, videos that we were posting online to do where you do a squat and you're facing a wall and you have your hands up against the wall, and you're not allowed to let your sort of nose hit the wall and smush into it or whatever. And I tried it and I was like, oh, you know what? I think that my hips will be sore. But the reality was I felt it in my T-spine because I've lost a ton of mobility in my T-spine because I'm now sitting at a desk all day for work. I'm not up and roaming around anymore. So yeah, you know, you've hit the nail on the head that we're all sitting down way more than we used to. And so we're going to end up with those types of sitting problems.
Yeah. Essentially, yes.
So another two-part question here, but they're just sort of contrasting questions. What has been, you know, a major success moment for you as a personal trainer, and what has been a challenging moment for you as a personal trainer?
I think the challenge is just, I mean, obviously, when you're when you're faced with a challenge, whether it's like a situation with a trainer, like a client that's having challenges, I mean, you have to kind of just embrace it because that's your job as a trainer to work with that. So whenever you feel frustrated, if someone's inconsistent or they're not progressing, I just try to embrace it and say, well, it's my job. It's my job to try to get them consistent. It's my job to try to get them motivated. So just look at it like that. It's a positive challenge, whether it's a client's workout or their resistance to something. That's just part of what I'm supposed to be good at doing. I'm supposed to rise to that challenge as a trainer. So I focused on that, and that makes it more positive. Instead of focusing on what's not working, because sometimes, you know, there are some things take longer. So you just have to, okay, this is my job. So how can I resolve it? How can I work? You know, how can we progress? So I try to look at it like that. Just taking it back to what my role is, what they're paying me for. So I don't try to get caught up in the frustration of it. Not to say I've never been frustrated. Yeah, we get frustrated. Yeah. But, you know, that's my job is to push through that, I think. So I do. Yeah.
It's inspiring.
Okay.
That sounds really inspiring. No, this is the reality of it. I mean, no job is perfect. And when you're working in the service industry and you're dealing with something that it's so personal, and you are dealing with people being vulnerable with you, and then as a personal trainer to respond to that and to try and sort of manage every single client and get them to where they need to be with their own individual plan. I mean, that's the whole thing with Freeform, is that each plan is customized, but there's, as much as sort of the work it is customized, there's an interaction that is customized to each person as well.
Yeah.
right? And so yeah, sometimes it wears you down, because you're human. You're a personal
Well,
trainer,
yeah.
but you are also human, you know. So yeah, I think that was an inspiring thing, because it is the reality. You rise to the challenge as well. As much as you get worn down, you always rise to the challenge, because that's your job, and that's
That's my
really
job.
what makes it so fulfilling to be a personal trainer.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, it's like anything. I mean, you have to push yourself through it, and you're going to have times where you thought, I didn't respond to that as well as I wanted to. So then you get another chance, hopefully, and then you try to respond to it better. So I mean, you know, it's a growing process as a trainer. There's times when you know, like I said, like I would have liked to respond differently, and now I try to do it differently, right? So you just try to learn from it and just try to get better.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the challenge side of things. What has been a major success? And this could be, again, a moment or just an aspect of your personal training career. What's been a huge sort of win for you?
Yeah, I mean, having clients who they start with you and they continue on with you, or they just evolve. They may stay with you and evolve, or they may just evolve out of personal training and onto their own, which is fine too, because that's also a role that we play to try to get people independently being able to do things on their own. So there's been cases like that where they've either stayed with me and evolved, and they're just doing so much more beyond the gym and doing it consistently, which I really, really like. So that's important. And then people who've evolved because they were inspired, and maybe they started with something and they ended up, you know, doing, I know we had a lady here who, she started here and then she's now doing lifting. She has a lifting coach, and she's all into that, but she didn't start there. She started basic training, but she wanted to do lifting. And so now she does that. With another lifting coach. So, I mean, that's inspiring too. So, yeah, I guess just making a difference, obviously, but just helping people evolve with their fitness.
Yeah.
That's, to me, the biggie.
No, totally. And you know, on the last episode, or I guess the very first episode of this podcast, when I asked a similar question to Jesse, you know, his biggest win within his personal training career had to do with his clients as well, which it's sort of a no-brainer. You know, we are personal trainers who care. That's, again, our whole thing at Freeform. But it's always just nice when I ask that question, and the first thing that trainers are always wanting to say is, oh yeah, it's just so great to see clients go from point A to point B, and it may have been something that they never, you know, point B may not have been the original goal, but that's where they are. And yeah, I just find that really inspiring. So, okay. So to sort of wrap up the episode, this interview, I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions. So they're just sort of 3 final questions, wrap this all up. And you just answer quickly, first thing that comes to your head. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. So what's something you know now that you wish you knew when you first became a personal trainer?
I think, chemistry. I think chemistry with a client, or a good rapport with a client, is really important. It just makes everything easier. So, you know, I mean, yes, we could be chameleons if we need to be, but honestly, having that natural chemistry and rapport with somebody and clicking with somebody makes everything easier and fun. And, you know, it's just great to have. So, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that at the beginning of my career, but I feel that way now.
Wow. Chemistry. Good answer. Very good answer. Okay, so what is the first skill that you teach a beginner client?
I have to give one answer. I can give 2.
You can give 2. You can give 2.
Okay, how to properly breathe. Breathing from your diaphragm. Deep breathing is really important, because then you learn how to activate your abdominals and activate your glutes. If you're breathing, it's a mind-body connection, right? So it gets people to just settle down, focus on that mind-body connection, and it helps with recovery, stress, and activation of your abdominals. You know, so definitely that's important. And just hinging, how to hinge, how to bend over, how to use your hips and your legs and your glutes as opposed to all back. That's really important. I took a course on the back, so yeah, it's really important to hinge. So I would say those two things.
Was this what was the back course?
It was it was a Darby course, but it was based on the Stuart McGill book. So it was based on his teachings. So he's a back expert, Stuart McGill. I don't want to, he can speak for himself. I don't know, but he's an expert. But it was a Darby course. It was, I think, a 2-3 day course I took a couple years ago, and I quite liked it. It was so very important. It's very, very important to learn how to move right. Especially when you're picking things up all the time. So how do you do that? Do it well. So that's really important.
Yeah, no, totally. And yeah, Stuart McGill. As soon as you said you took a back course, I was like, I bet you it is Stuart McGill. He's the back guy.
That guy.
All right. Okay, so final little rapid fire question here. What is the most valuable coaching skill?
Listening. Okay, so listening to your client and trying to get their perspective on where they're at, right? Figuring out where they're coming from, because that's going to help you, right?
Yeah.
And that helps you know where they're at, how they're feeling, and then how can you coach that? So that's essentially, before you talk, you have to know what they're saying, and you have to know what they're feeling. So, and then you can coach.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go. That's great answer. Great answer. Okay. Okay, so that just about wraps everything up. Thank you so much for joining me for the second episode. It's been just an absolute treat getting to know you better. If people want to look you up or people want to train with you, where can they go to find more information about you?
Great question. Freeform Fitness in the Glebe.
All right, so thank you very much for watching this or listening in on the second episode of the Personal Trainers Who Care podcast. All of the relevant links can be found in the description box below. And of course, if you'd like to know more about Freeform Fitness, you can go to freeformfitness.ca, and we'd love to have you in and training with us. All right, thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Riley.